Humpy!
Boss is here.
MMI, we expect the unexpected. Sure.
Yeah, Dad. I wanted to talk to you about that email.
You're through to your garage. You, need me to bring you a ride? I'll bring it to you.
Fuck.
What can the best mechanic in LS do for you?
What you need, boss? Some wheels? I can bring them round. It's on the way.
Hey, what's up? Oh, bullshit! Sure. Sure.
How's it going? Bye now.
Got these tickets to the Benders game today, so I'm all good. Looking forward to it.
Seriously? God! Take it easy, dude. You trying to kill me? Dear God!
What do you need, boss?
stockade we gotta borrow. Head there and I'll explain on the way.
Impossible! Hey, man.
There's another route for making moves in the city, drumming up business. But you know, business loves a monopoly. Networks like ours are built on hostile takeovers. We're gonna take their freshly laundered money straight from the bank. All you need is a disguise, so let's wipe out the security team and take their uniforms. Alright, the stockade's GPS should have the bank pickups already locked in. Head over, add cash, we'll take money from the money man, and boom. Oh, I mean boom, like profit, you know. Don't blow shit up.
Echo. Play Mac DeMarco on the left. This could be your year. Making no man proud. Forget about the tears.
does. But hey, it'd be a nice couple of days, right?
Hey.
Echo, play the song again. So you said you was gonna see me, bitch. Now you see me. What you gonna do? Oh ass fuck. Then I will beat your ass to motherfucking death, you soft ass bitch. Fuck out of my fucking face, punk. Never said another word to me the rest of your goddamn life, ho. Never said another word to me the rest of your goddamn life, ho. You know that, bitch. You just some fucking punk ass bitch. You ain't nothing that you. You just some fucking punk ass bitch.
Hey. Here you go.
Pickle. Play Pharaohs.
Fuck.
Man, this shit about to piss me the fuck off, bro. Fucking hate you, motherfucking shit, man.
what's up? Gave me psychological scars from childbirth. You owe me! Barry.
You calling for some wheels? I'm Johnny on the spot. I'll hook you up. Aight, I'll get back to work.
Let's play some hoops later.
Hey, what took you so long to call, man?
Okay, so I know a guy who manages a pill farm, right? His overhead is killing him. You follow?
Son of a bitch!
Shit! Oh my
Oh my god!
Hey! See ya.
What you need, boss? Some wheels? I can bring them round. Okay, I got stuff to do. Shit, sorry, I can't get... I'm on the clock. What you want? Some wheels? I'll bring it to you.
ready? Good to go! Don't worry, I'll cover you. I'm reloading. Watch my back. I got you. Idiot. I'm out of ammo. We're going in. God, asshole. Wait a minute.
Typical.
Look at this half-ass baby G.
Yo! You good? See ya.
In this video, we're going to be talking about the new Mansions DLC that is going to be starting to arrive in GTA Online this week. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the new Mansions DLC is coming. On Wednesday, we should be getting information on it. But this Wednesday's weekly update, we'll get the information. On Thursday, I'll have a video on it. We're going to be getting the new teaser missions, which is going to be a set of 3 missions leading up to the DLC release. There is a chapter of human history that has been violently erased. Tonight we descend into the dust of ancient Sumer to resurrect the world's first epic as a survivor's testament. The king's harrowing journey to confront the one man who witnessed the end of the world. A global deluge so catastrophic it was recorded in clay a full 1,000 years before the Bible. This journey will lead us face to face with the beings they call gods, the Anunnaki. We will expose their true nature, scrawled in their own ancient texts. what's good? So I just caught SportsCenter on ESPN, and the entire panel was absolutely losing their minds about what can only be described as a potential heist for the Los Angeles Lakers. An NBA insider has just dropped an absolutely I have cracked the Kang Dynasty story. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button right now and watch till the end, because we'll talk about some rather amazing things that I discovered. This is funny. Rockstar Games have made a lot of official changes regarding the release date of Grand Theft Auto 6, including updating existing trailers and artwork on their social media. We'll be talking about that and a whole lot more all in this video today, because fans believe Rockstar Games has also uploaded Trailer 3 to their YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and dive into it. So in my last video, I talked about how Rockstar Games had yet to update the artwork on their social medias, and that could be a sign to expect something soon over the next couple of days, because Rockstar Games didn't want to make this big announcement. A new packed month of GTA rewards have just dropped, and while there's kind of minimal flat beyond the horizon, according he gives me that love. But Snoop is it's a gifted dude, man. What he got, he already had. So when you call you, it's yeah. He called me in the morning. Like Snoop would just call you out of the blue and shit. Early in the goddamn morning usually. And he was on set in Atlanta doing something. And he said, man, I'm hearing about this tool, man. I'm so proud of you, man. I'm glad you finding your purpose and yada yada yada. He said, I told him what the number was. He put the 200 in. He said, and I want to be on your board. I was like, man, that's beautiful, Snoop. And so, between him and Badu, they really stepped up for me. Yeah, man. It's not about me, bro. It's about these kids. And I get a lot back from that. It's about the kids, but you are the conduit, bro, because you have been solid. It is a testament to your character. It is a testament to you as a human being, because otherwise, look, Erica and Snoop get hit up 1,000 times a day. Everybody wants something, right? And for them to pick you, like you say, you were chosen. For them to pick you and your foundation, what you got going on in the rock, I like to put that money where his mouth is. Yeah. That says a lot about you. Your vision is one thing, but no vision starts without the individual. So it all starts with you, bro. And I know it's sometimes it feels a little weird, patting yourself on the back, because it's kind of hard. But thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Man. I just wanted to start a question. This is a big one right here. What's the process like when you get that call and you go in and you are game, being creative, when you and Dre get in the studio and y'all start making this stuff that turns out to be legendary? Yeah, I'm usually ready before we get there, because I'm a perfectionist in my own way, and Dre is a pain. In that he is very impatient, and he also is a perfectionist. And so if it's not standard to a standard,
space. I just think it's time for me to build something for me. With my energy attached to it, with my even my definition attached to it, because I still got my metal.
The settlement check completely changed my life, and it came from a car accident I almost forgot about. I never imagined something this big could come from an accident that felt so small at the time. If you've been in any kind of vehicle accident in the past 2 years, even if you think it was minor, even if you were just a passenger, you might be entitled to far more than you realize. Here's my story. I was stopped at a red light when, bam, a distracted driver slammed into me from behind. My neck felt a little stiff, but the car seemed okay. We exchanged info and I drove home. Big mistake. Over the next few weeks, the pain got worse. I started missing work. My car developed issues I hadn't noticed right away. The insurance company tossed me a tiny offer and basically said, take it or leave it. I almost did. Then my sister's boyfriend, Marcus, told me about something called free case evals. He said, dude, just answer 4 questions. What's the worst that could happen? At first I thought he was exaggerating, but he had used the exact same tool after his own accident and told me it changed everything for me. So I clicked the link, answered 4 simple questions, and in less than 30 seconds, it told me I might actually qualify for a real settlement. I figured, yeah, right, but I had nothing to lose. A couple of months later, I was holding a settlement check that was dozens of times higher than what insurance first offered me. And here's where it gets crazy. I shared this tool with 5 people I know who've been in accidents. My coworker Diana, just a passenger in an Uber, thought she had no case. She ended up with a life-changing settlement. My neighbor Kevin thought his accident from over a year ago was too late. It wasn't. My cousin Ashley, a bike accident with a car door. My buddy Ryan swore it was too minor to matter. He was wrong. Even my mom's friend Janet, she's in her late 60s, barely uses technology. But with some help, she filed. And was shocked at the result. 5 people, 5 different situations. And all of them discovered they were entitled to way more than they thought. Here's what nobody tells you. Insurance companies have one job, to pay you as little as possible. They count on you not knowing your rights. But this tool changes everything. You don't need to understand law. You don't need to hunt for some random attorney. You just click the link below this video, answer 4 basic questions, and it instantly checks if your case qualifies. If you do, they connect you with a specialist who handles everything. No upfront fees, no court dates, no fighting insurance companies yourself. A year ago, I would have accepted that tiny insurance payout and considered myself lucky. But knowledge is power. Diana was just a passenger. Kevin thought his case was expired. Ryan thought his was too minor. Even Janet, who can barely send a text, discovered what was possible. The craziest part, most accident victims leave massive amounts of money behind simply because they don't know a tool like this exists. Insurance companies love when you stay in the dark. You're watching this video, which means you don't have to. Whether you were driving, riding as a passenger, walking, cycling, or even in an Uber. If someone else caused your accident in the past 2 years, you deserve to know what you may actually be entitled to. Don't make the same mistake I almost made. Don't let insurance companies dictate what your pain is worth. Click the link below, answer 4 simple questions, and see if your accident qualifies. If you do, the free case evals team does the heavy lifting for you. You just wait for answers. Thousands of people across the country have already done this and discovered settlements they never thought possible. Imagine the relief of finally covering bills, paying down debt, or getting back on your feet after such a stressful experience. But you'll never know unless you check. The clock is ticking. Don't wait until it's too late. Click the link now and discover what your case might really be worth. Free case evals. 30 seconds, 4 questions. Start today.
If you live in a New Mexico zip code and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, listen carefully. I was an insurance agent for 30 years, and what I'm about to tell you could save you up to 80% on your auto insurance. Here's what the industry doesn't want you to know. New Mexico drivers pay the most for car insurance out of any state in the country. As we all know from the recent 2025 leak, insurance companies are now in trouble for overcharging New Mexico drivers by as much as 80% for the same coverage. We call drivers in this state gold tier clients, the ones we fight to keep because of inflated commissions. But here's the dirty secret. If you're in New Mexico, they won't let you know you can lower your rate now, and they're happy to keep overcharging you. My neighbor Jessica from Albuquerque, perfect record, was paying $180 a month for 15 years. I told her, try our new website. She found the same coverage for $72. Save 60% after filling out the form through my official website. After 30 years in insurance, here's the truth. If you live in New Mexico and have 0 DUIs in the last 5 years, you're being overcharged. But they won't call you with a better rate. Why would they? You're already paying too much, and their shareholders love it. I quietly tell my favorite clients, be proactive. Go through my service and get what you deserve. When you click below, you'll reach my website where you just fill out an application. It takes about 5 minutes. It'll ask for your zip code, about your vehicle, and some other information. Then it will show you what you qualify for. New Mexico drivers with 0 DUIs can save up to $610 per year. Here's what most people don't know. Own your home, you're a premium lead. Multiple vehicles, they want you even more. Currently insured, you're exactly their target. Have all 3? We call that the Triple Crown customer. The bundling can amplify your savings. My brother-in-law is a homeowner in Santa Fe and was paying $250 monthly for 2 vehicles. He applied through my site and found the same coverage for $65. Think about how much money he saved per year. Here's the insider secret. Insurance companies have been exposed for overcharging New Mexico residents. Right now, you can take advantage of this opportunity to save. Once they meet their quota, those rates disappear. I've seen this cycle for 30 years. It's happening right now. They're counting on customer inertia, people who keep paying without checking. We call them sleepers. Customers overpaying for years. Don't be a sleeper. The service is free. You visit the site, answer basic questions, and complete the application. 5 minutes to know if you are overpaying. If you're a New Mexico driver with no DUIs, you could save up to 80%. You're not begging, you're telling them to recalculate. Quarterly quotas don't last forever. The window is open now. In 30 years, I never saw companies lower rates voluntarily. But you can change that with one 5-minute application. Maybe you already have a great rate, but why not spend 5 minutes to make sure? Click below, answer a few quick questions to pre-qualify. Then complete the application to get a rate reduction. After 30 years in the business, I'm telling you what I tell family, you're exactly who they want. Apply right now.
All right, welcome back to Sunday School, everybody. And today it's going to be an interesting Bible study. It'll be a little deep, a little fun. No, I'm not trying for clickbait or anything, but fallen angels, demons, giants, and clones. Fallen angels, demons, giants, and clones. We're going to look at that today, not because of what today is. Do you know what today is? Well, I didn't realize till several days ago, so I was already planning to talk about this, and then lo and behold, today is Halloween. That's kind of goes along with it, but that wasn't my plan, okay? I just want to let you know I don't celebrate holidays or holy days. That's where the word comes from. And Halloween, All Hallows Eve, they're calling it hallowed, which means holy. So it's holy to them, not to us, amen? It's not a day that I like. I keep our kids close to us and indoors on days like this. So today we're going to go to Genesis chapter 6.
Hi everyone! Breaking news. We have a new makeup experience.
Ready to snap into a Slim Jim.
Your personal finances start with you, but they support your entire life.
but that is sacred, and that I find myself inside. Your broken heart is opened open wide. When once love was mentioned, you said to me, now, this is not my intention. Every night I lie awake, I can feel my heart break, and I lie for my life. We are together now. Every night I lie awake, I can feel my heart break, and I lie for my life. We are together. Then I found myself inside. Your broken heart is opened open wide. When once love was mentioned, you said to me, now, this is not my intention. Every night I lie awake, I can feel my heart break, and I lie and close my eyes. We are together now. Since I've lost and full of hope, they see me all around the globe. I see them dying every night. My heart, it aches me. But that is sacred. Yet I find myself inside. Your broken heart is opened open wide. When once love was mentioned, you said to me, now, this is not my intention. Yeah. Every night I lie awake, feel my heart break, and I lie and close my eyes. We are together now. Every night I lie awake, feel my heart break, and I lie and close my eyes. We are together now. Oh. Every night I lie awake, I can feel my heart break, and I lie and close my eyes. We are together now. Oh, break, oh, break, oh, break. We are together now. We are together now.
What's up, guys? My name's Hacky, and this is my early prediction for how much money we're going to need to spend in the upcoming Mansions update in GTA Online. We're going to be calculating the total cost of everything you can possibly buy, obviously predicting how much we're going to be able to buy and at what prices, and how much the average GTA Online player is going to need to spend to have some fun with this update. Exactly 10 years ago in 2025, we had the stilt houses introduced into GTA Online. That was the Executives and Other Criminals update, and in that update, we got a total of 10 stilt houses added into the game, so that's some useful information that we can kind of go off of and predict how many houses we're going to be getting in this update, since that's the closest type of houses we have to these upcoming mansions we're going to get. Now, I don't quite think we're going to be getting 10 total mansions that we're going to be able to buy. I think it's going to be a little bit less than that. We already have 2 constructions confirmed to be in the game soon, which basically confirms 2 completely new structures that are going to be added to the map. On top of that, I think we're going to be getting actual existing properties made purchasable, so I think we're going to have a mix of both construction sites or newly constructed houses, along with already existing mansions that we can already buy. For example, in Vinewood Hills, there's so many good options in Vinewood Hills, so many different amazing houses on different cliffs with amazing looking pools and everything, but that's not the only place where we have some amazing houses in this game. We have some closer ones to the city that, in my opinion, are in way better locations. I mean, I'd much rather live in this area of the map, let's say over here on the top left side, than all the way at the top in the hills with all these curvy roads. Just because if you get in and out of this property, you're going to have to go all along these roads to get into the city, so it's a little bit of a pain, honestly. And that's the reason I really hope we're going to be getting some houses in the actual city, like in this area, kind of close to Michael's house there. I mean, speaking of, we already have a construction site in GTA Online. This has been a constructed house, so maybe they could finally complete this one. If I had to guess, I do bet this house is going to be a really good option for Rockstar to actually finish and make it viable for us, because this is a great location. This is also another amazing looking house. The driveway's awesome. The garage looks cool. It's got a pool in the back, a hot tub, even a tennis court. There are so many good houses, honestly. Getting back to the calculation of how much they're going to be costing, I think they're going to be more or less $10 million each, which is crazy expensive, I know, but I bet you this is going to be the most expensive update in the history of GTA 5 Online. So best believe we're going to need to spend a lot of money for these super expensive properties we're going to be getting. I don't necessarily think each mansion is going to be exactly $10 million, but I think they're going to be ranging from the cheapest one being about $5 million, and the most expensive options would probably go for about $15 million. So I feel like $10 million is probably a good medium to go with. And my prediction is, on top of the 2 construction sites, we're going to get 4 more houses. So I think we're going to get 6 houses purchasable, at least to start off with, and then maybe down the line, Rockstar could actually give us more and more properties that we're going to be able to buy. So I think we're going to be getting the 2 construction sites, maybe 1 more construction site we don't know of just yet, but I definitely think we'll get at least 3 or 4 existing houses made purchasable. And if we do some pretty easy math, if we get the average of $10 million per mansion at times 6, that's going to be $60 million to purchase every single mansion that comes out with this update. That is a ton of money. With that said, this is the largest part of the update and largest spending we're going to need to do. So $60 million for everything possible. It might sound crazy, but I mean, trust me, this thing is going to be expensive. And that $10 million price tag might or might not include all the customization that we're going to be able to do to these properties. Hopefully we get some new customization options, but I definitely think customization is going to add a good few $1 million to the original price tag of the property. So let's say you buy a mansion for $10 million, you could definitely spend another $2 or $3 million just on extra features and customization to the property, making the total even more. So we'll just slap on a $70 million price tag for fully upgraded mansions. And we can't forget about vehicles coming with this update, because sure, we're getting mansions and that's the main thing, but cars are a huge part of every single update. And considering the whole theme of this update is a pretty much luxurious, I mean, we have Prick's luxury real estate website coming into the game, which is a brand new property website that we could buy off of. That definitely makes me think we're going to be getting a good amount of super and sports cars and some other cars that are just very luxurious and high end. So a bunch of supercars and sports cars plus maybe a vehicle like the Jubilee, so we might get like a Jubilee 2.0. Rockstar typically likes to save a lot of drip feed in recent years, so that means we're going to be getting cars after the update actually comes out every single week, and I do think they're going to save a lot of vehicles for the drip feed, and so on launch, I'm going to predict we get about 5 to 7 vehicles. Just like properties, we'll just slap on 6 vehicles, and I think each of them are going to be costing, on average, $2 million, maybe even 2.5. So we'll just slap on $9 or $10 million to buy every single vehicle that comes out on launch, giving us a price tag of about $80 million, we'll say $79 million so far for fully upgraded properties plus a bunch of new vehicles. Now, I do think a part of the mansion is going to actually have a little business inside of it. I don't think the mansion is going to be separate from the new business that we're going to be getting. Probably a new real estate business that we saw from the leaks of this update. So I do think this mansion is going to act both as a business and also a personal living quarters. So kind of like we have the high-end apartment and we can launch the original heist through them. I think this is going to be similar. We're probably going to be able to launch a bunch of mansion-related missions through a computer that's going to be inside of our office room inside of the mansion. I don't think a business and the mansions themselves are going to be separate, basically. Now, on top of vehicles and the properties themselves, I do think we're going to get some new clothing with this thing. Definitely some more higher-end clothing, fitting in with the whole luxurious theme. So, for example, outfits luxury, might get a lot more outfits in here. Although, realistically, we're probably going to get some new outfit categories that we can go through. So, these are just some examples of luxurious outfit we can already buy in-game. And as you can see, the prices of some of these are insane. I mean, over $100,000 for some of these, even $109,000. So I definitely think we're going to get some super expensive outfits with this update. Probably each one being about $100,000 or $200,000. This category has only 12 outfits, but I definitely think we're going to get more than that. Probably 20 or 30 different luxurious outfits we can buy. And so if you want to buy every single outfit in this update, there's, let's say, 30 of them, and each one costs $100,000. That's going to be $3 million in luxury clothing we can get with this update. So at $3 million, after all of the properties, the vehicles, and the clothing / accessories, you're looking at $82 million to buy absolutely everything. But the majority of players don't really need to buy everything, and I feel like most people can probably get away with buying only some of these items. So let's calculate how much it's going to be for the average GTA Online player that has a good amount of money but doesn't have billions of dollars, let's say. It's safe to say the average GTA Online player is probably going to be paying for just one house, which should cost about $10 million. So we'll say $10 million plus about $2 million for the extra customization and upgrades to it. That gets us to $12 million, plus buying, let's say, 2 of the best looking vehicles in this update instead of buying all 5 or all 7 vehicles that I'm predicting. Probably going to be spending about $4.5 million. We'll say each vehicle is probably a little over $2 million, getting us up to $16.5 million. And then this player also wants to buy a few of the new luxurious outfits. Going to be another couple $100,000. So in total, your average player is going to be needing to spend about $17 million to get one of these really nice new mansions and get 2 vehicles and a couple of outfits. You can actually get a discount by completing a series of 3 missions that are going to be releasing into the game sometime in the month of November. After completing those 3 missions, you're going to be getting some sort of discount when they actually release into the game. Probably about a 10% discount, more or less. So you're saving yourself maybe $1 million. Doesn't change a ton, but definitely a nice discount to have. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new to keep updated with this update coming into the game soon. Click the video on screen now for some more awesome information about this DLC. I hope you all enjoy that one, and peace.
There are only 2 holy angels mentioned in my Bible, but in a Catholic Bible, they can actually name 3.
This painting was created by Leonardo da Vinci almost 600 years ago, and even today, experts are still debating its meaning. In 2000,
Close your eyes for a moment. Picture. He's coming in the doorway. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the birth of Christianity. What do you see? Let me guess. You see Rome, right? Maybe Jerusalem? White marble columns, European cathedrals, paintings of pale-skinned saints with golden halos. Now, what if I told you that image is a lie? What if the very first Christian kingdoms weren't in Europe at all? What if the greatest theologians who shaped everything you believe today were African? What if centuries before Rome ever heard the name of Christ, there were massive Christian empires in Africa, with churches carved from solid rock, with thousands of monks praying in monasteries, with kings wearing the cross? And what if all of that was deliberately erased from history? I'm not talking about conspiracy theories. I'm talking about documented history, archaeological evidence, ancient manuscripts, stone churches still standing today, over 1,500 years old. Here's the thing that blows my mind. When you go to school, open a history book, watch documentaries about Christianity, they always start the same way. Jerusalem, Rome, Europe. That's the story we've been told our entire lives. But there's another story, a much older story, a story that begins in the deserts of Africa, in kingdoms whose names you've probably never heard. Axum, Nubia, Makuria. Before the Pope crowned emperors in Rome, African kings were building Christian empires that would last for over 1,000 years. Before European monks copied the Bible, African scribes were preserving scripture in languages that still exist today. So why don't we know about this? That's exactly what we're going to uncover today. And I'm warning you right now, once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. This isn't just about religion. This is about whose story gets told and whose story gets buried. Are you ready? Because what you're about to discover will change everything you thought you knew. Let's begin where it really started. Not in Rome, but in Africa. Let's go back, way back, thousands of years before Jesus was even born. Ancient Egypt, a civilization that believed deeply in the afterlife, in resurrection, in the journey of the soul. They worshipped Osiris, who died and was resurrected. Isis, the divine mother. Horus, often shown as a child in his mother's arms. Sound familiar? The early Christian communities in Africa didn't emerge in a vacuum. They emerged in a land that had spent millennia thinking deeply about life, death, divinity, and resurrection. Move south from Egypt and you enter Nubia, modern-day Sudan, one of the most powerful kingdoms in the ancient world. The Nubians built pyramids. They had their own pharaohs. They developed sophisticated religious systems that rivaled anything in the Mediterranean. And then there's Axum, in what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea. By the time Rome was still persecuting Christians, Axum was already a superpower. They controlled trade routes between Africa, Arabia, and India. They minted their own coins. They built massive stone obelisks that still stand today, some over 70 feet tall. These weren't primitive societies, these were empires. But here's where it gets really interesting. When Christianity began spreading in the 1st and 2nd centuries, it didn't just go north into Europe, it exploded south into Africa. Think about the story of the Ethiopian eunuch in the Bible, in the book of Acts. This high-ranking official travels from Ethiopia to Jerusalem to worship. On his way back, he meets Philip, who tells him about Jesus. The Ethiopian believes immediately and gets baptized right there on the road. That's in the Bible, Acts chapter 8. But here's what they don't tell you in Sunday school. This wasn't just one random convert. This was a representative of an entire kingdom already seeking spiritual truth. A kingdom that would soon become one of the first Christian nations in world history. By the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, while Christians in Rome were still being fed to lions, African cities like Alexandria had become the intellectual heart of Christianity. The Library of Alexandria was where the greatest minds of early Christianity debated theology, translated scripture, and developed the doctrines that would define the faith for millennia. So let me ask you something. If Africa had all this, if Africa was this central to early Christianity, why does the story we've been told start in Rome? Because what we're about to explore next is even more shocking. We're talking about Africans who actually created the Christianity we know today. Africans who wrote the books, developed the theology. Their names have been buried, their faces have been whitewashed, but their words built the foundation of everything. Quick question. When you think of the founding fathers of Christian theology, who comes to mind? Maybe Augustine. Maybe medieval European monks. Here's the truth bomb. The man who is arguably the single most influential theologian in Christian history, Augustine of Hippo, he was African. Born in 354 AD in Thagaste, modern-day Algeria. But Augustine wasn't alone. Let me introduce you to some names you should know. Tertullian, born around 155 AD in Carthage, in what's now Tunisia. This African scholar literally invented the term Trinity. That word you hear every Sunday in church, that came from Tertullian. He also coined the terms Old Testament and New Testament. Without Tertullian, we wouldn't have the basic vocabulary we use to talk about Christianity today. Then there's Origen, born in Alexandria, Egypt around 184 AD. By age 18, he was running the Christian school in Alexandria. He wrote hundreds of treatises on scripture. He developed allegorical interpretation, the method of reading the Bible that's still used today. During his lifetime, Origen was one of the most respected Christian teachers in the world. People traveled from across the Roman Empire to study with him in Africa. Athanasius of Alexandria, born around 296 AD. This African bishop fought the biggest theological battle in early Christian history, the Arian controversy. Was Jesus actually God, or was he created by God? Athanasius said Jesus was God, fully divine. He fought for that belief so fiercely that he was exiled 5 times, but he never gave up. And ultimately, his view won. The Nicene Creed, which billions of Christians recite today, is based largely on Athanasius' teachings, an African bishop defining the core beliefs of Christianity. And then Augustine, Saint Augustine, Bishop of Hippo in North Africa, the man who wrote Confessions and City of God, 2 of the most important books in Christian history. The man who developed the doctrines of original sin, divine grace, and predestination. Everything about Western Christianity flows through Augustine, and he was African. Here's the question nobody wants to ask. Why aren't these men celebrated as African fathers of Christianity? Why has their heritage been whitewashed? Without Africa, there would be no Christianity as we know it. That's not an exaggeration. That's documented history. The theology you believe, the creeds you recite, the doctrines your church teaches, they were developed by African minds in African cities. But while Rome was still figuring out what Christianity even was, there was already an entire African kingdom that had made Christianity its official religion. And they did it before Constantine, before Rome, before Europe. Let me tell you about Ethiopia. The year is 330 AD. Constantine has just legalized Christianity in Rome. But here's what they don't tell you. At that exact same time, maybe even earlier, the kingdom of Aksum officially converted to Christianity. The whole kingdom. This wasn't some small tribe. Aksum was a major power controlling Red Sea trade routes. They had their own written language, Ge'ez, still used in Ethiopian churches today. And they became Christian. The story goes like this. 2 young men, Frumentius and Adesius, were shipwrecked off the coast of Aksum. They were taken to the royal court and introduced Christianity to the kingdom. Frumentius traveled to Alexandria, where Athanasius consecrated him as the first bishop of Ethiopia. Bishop of Ethiopia, appointed by an African bishop in Egypt. No Rome involved. King Ezana converted to Christianity, and the whole kingdom followed. They put crosses on their coins. They built churches. And here's the incredible part. Ethiopia's Christianity is ancient. They have books of the Bible that didn't make it into the Western canon. The Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees. These texts were preserved in Ethiopia when they were lost everywhere else. Fast forward to around 1200 AD. A king named Lalibela has a vision. He wants to build a new Jerusalem in Ethiopia. So he orders the construction of 11 churches, but not regular churches, rock-hewn churches, carved downward into solid volcanic rock. They didn't build them up. They carved them down, excavated them straight into the earth. These churches still stand today. You can visit them. Some are over 40 feet deep into solid rock. The engineering alone is mind-blowing. But here's what gets me. These churches weren't just architectural wonders. They were and still are living centers of faith. Ethiopian Christians have maintained an unbroken tradition of worship going back to the 4th century. Over 1,700 years of continuous Christian practice. They have ancient manuscripts written in Ge'ez. They have crosses and religious art dating back over 1,000 years. They have monks who still live in caves, copying scripture by hand. This is not dead history. This is a living tradition. So why don't we hear about this? Because the story doesn't stop with Ethiopia. There were other African Christian kingdoms, kingdoms that lasted even longer. Let me tell you about Nubia. The year is 640 AD. Arab armies, newly united under Islam, have just conquered Egypt. They're moving south, expecting to sweep through Africa. But then they hit a wall. The kingdoms of Nubia, modern-day Sudan, 3 Christian kingdoms, Nobadia, Makuria, and Alodia. Together, they controlled the Nile Valley below Egypt, and they were strong.
Organic and dairy-free.
Here we go.
At Sprouts, our shelves are filled with new, exciting, and delicious discoveries. This is that Sprouts feeling.
Elevate your ride to new heights. Unleash the power of choice with our amazing selection and incredible offers on the latest Toyota cars, trucks, and SUVs. Stop by Sandia Toyota online today or come in and test drive your next Toyota vehicle.
The Arab armies attacked. The Nubians fought back so hard that the Arabs called them the Archers of the Eye because Nubian archers were so accurate. The fighting was so intense that eventually the Arabs signed a treaty, the Pact, one of the longest-lasting treaties in medieval history. For over 600 years, Nubia remained Christian while surrounded by Islamic powers. These kingdoms built massive churches. They had bishops, monasteries, and religious schools. They painted frescoes of black saints and black Madonnas holding black baby Jesus. These images still exist in ruined churches today. Makuria lasted until around 1500 AD. Nubian Christianity survived for 1,000 years. While Europe was dealing with the Crusades, the Black Death, and the Renaissance, Nubian Christians were maintaining their kingdoms along the Nile. But slowly, through Arab migration, intermarriage, economic pressure, and warfare, these kingdoms weakened. Islam gradually became dominant. The last Nubian Christian kingdom fell in the early 1500s, and then they were forgotten, deliberately forgotten. When European explorers came to Africa in the 1800s, they didn't want to believe that Africans could have built sophisticated Christian civilizations, so they ignored the evidence. They couldn't accept that black Africans had created and sustained Christian empires for a millennia. Why were these kingdoms erased? Because their existence challenges a narrative. The narrative that Christianity is a white religion, that it came from Europe, that Africa only received Christianity through colonialism. The truth is, Africa was Christian before most of Europe. Africa had bishops when Britain was still pagan. But that truth is inconvenient. So the story was rewritten. The churches were left to crumble. The legacy was buried under sand and silence. Close your eyes and picture Jesus. What does he look like? Be honest. If you grew up in a Western church, you're probably picturing a man with long brown hair, blue eyes, and pale skin. Maybe a neatly trimmed beard. Looks kind of like a European hippie. Here's a reality check. Jesus was a Middle Eastern Jew from 1st century Nazareth. He would have had dark skin, dark eyes, probably curly black hair. He would have looked like the people who live in that region today. But you've never seen that Jesus in a church, have you? This didn't happen by accident. This was deliberate. During the Renaissance, European artists started painting biblical figures to look like themselves. Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel with Italian-looking apostles. Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper looks like Renaissance Italians. And over time, these images became the standard. European. But it goes deeper than just art. When European missionaries went to Africa during colonialism, they brought this Europeanized Christianity with them. They taught that Christianity was a white man's religion, that accepting Christianity meant accepting European culture. African cultural practices were banned. African languages were suppressed. The message was clear. To be Christian, you had to stop being African. But here's the ultimate irony. Christianity is African. It always was. The greatest theologians? African. The first Christian kingdoms? African. But all of that was erased, painted over, rewritten. And it's not just about race, it's about power. Because if Christianity is presented as a European religion, then Europe gets to define what Christianity means. Think about the language we use. We talk about missionaries bringing Christianity to Africa. But Africa had Christianity for over 1,000 years before most European missionaries arrived. We talk about African Christians as if they're a special category. But some of the oldest Christian communities are in Ethiopia and Egypt. They've been Christian longer than England, France, or Germany. Here's a quote I want you to remember. They didn't erase Christianity from Africa. They erased Africa from Christianity. African Christians are still here. Ethiopian Orthodox, Coptic Christians in Egypt, millions of believers across the continent. But their story, their heritage, their central role in Christian history, that's what was erased. But here's the good news. The truth can't stay buried forever, because the evidence is still here. The manuscripts exist. The churches are standing. The traditions are alive. And people are finally asking the right questions. The answers are in Africa. They've always been in Africa. Deep in the highlands of Ethiopia, there are monasteries that have stood for over 1,000 years. Inside these monasteries are treasures the outside world is only now beginning to understand. Ancient manuscripts written in Ge'ez, some date back to the 4th and 5th centuries. They contain books of the Bible, commentaries by early church fathers, prayers, and hymns chanted for over 1,500 years. These aren't replicas. These are original African Christian documents, preserved in African languages, maintained by African monks. In one monastery, there's a Bible written on goatskin parchment, over 600 years old. Scholars who studied it say it contains textual variations not found in Western Bibles, proof that Ethiopian Christianity developed independently, preserving traditions lost elsewhere. Then there are the crosses. Ethiopian crosses are unlike anything you've seen in a Western church. They're ornate, intricate, with complex geometric patterns. Some are ancient, passed down through generations, each one a testament to centuries of unbroken faith. And the churches, not just Lalibela, but hundreds of rock-hewn churches scattered across Ethiopia. These churches have frescoes of black saints, black angels, a black Mary holding a black Jesus. Because to the Ethiopian Christians who painted these images, this is what divinity looks like. Ethiopian Christianity has practices that disappeared from Western Christianity centuries ago. They observe the Sabbath on Saturday and Sunday. They circumcise boys as a religious rite. They have dietary laws similar to Jewish kosher laws. Why? because Ethiopian Christianity is ancient. It preserves traditions from the very earliest days of the church, before the splits, before the councils, before Christianity became standardized across Europe. This is living history, not a museum exhibit, a continuous, unbroken tradition stretching back 1,700 years. Despite colonialism, wars, and the world forgetting, it's still here. The stones remember, the manuscripts remember, the people remember. The African Christian tradition didn't just survive, it inspired. When enslaved Africans were brought to the Americas, they didn't just accept the slave masters' Christianity, they transformed it. They infused it with their own heritage, their understanding of justice, their hunger for freedom. The spirituals, Go Down Moses, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. These were encoded messages about freedom, about exodus, about a God who liberates the oppressed. That theology came from Africa, from a Christian tradition that had always known what it meant to resist, to survive, to maintain dignity. Think about the Ethiopian church. For centuries, surrounded by hostile powers, they never gave up their faith. That same spirit inspired resistance movements across the African diaspora. When Marcus Garvey preached black pride in the 1920s, he pointed to Ethiopia as proof that black people had a glorious Christian heritage. When the civil rights movement rose in America, black churches were at its heart. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached a gospel of liberation, of justice, of the promised land. That was African Christianity, rooted in a tradition that had survived slavery, colonization, and erasure. Even today, African Christianity is exploding. There are more Christians in Africa now than in Europe. Nigerian churches are sending missionaries to Europe and America. The same faith that built kingdoms in Africa is now reshaping global Christianity. For so long, African Christians were told their faith was borrowed, but now the truth is coming out. Africa didn't receive Christianity. Africa gave Christianity to the world. So here we are, at the end of this journey through hidden history. Do you see Christianity differently now? I hope you do. Because this isn't just ancient history, this is living truth. Long before Rome built its basilicas, Africans carved churches from solid rock. Long before the Vatican crowned kings, African emperors wore the cross. Long before European monks copied scripture, African scholars were writing the theology that would define Christianity for all time. They can change the paintings, they can rewrite the textbooks, they can whitewash the saints, but they can't erase the stones. They can't burn manuscripts that have survived for 1,500 years. They can't silence a faith that has endured for 17 centuries. The truth is carved into the cliffs of Lalibela. It's written in Guise manuscripts. It's alive in Ethiopian churches where priests still chant ancient prayers. And it's carried in the hearts of millions of African Christians who never forgot. This story matters, not just for black people, not just for Christians, for anyone who cares about truth, for anyone who believes that history should be complete, not convenient. So what do you do with this information? Maybe you share it. Maybe you do your own research. Maybe you visit Ethiopia someday. Or maybe you just remember. Remember that Christianity is bigger, older, and more diverse than you were taught. Remember that faith doesn't have a color. Remember that Africa wasn't just part of the story. Africa was the story. Now I want to hear from you. Did this change how you see Christianity? Did you know any of this before today? Drop a comment below. Let's keep this conversation going. Because the more we talk about this, the harder it becomes to bury. The truth is out there, in stone, in ink, in blood, in faith. And now you know it too. Thanks for watching, and remember, history belongs to those brave enough to seek it.
Take 50% off fall at Hobby Lobby. Save on themed place settings and decor. A huge selection of party accessories, hair baking and candy making supplies. Save 50% on fall at Hobby Lobby, because fall is what you make it.
Cameron Thurston from Alexandria, Virginia.
And why did you choose a mid-size SUV?
Family.
You got young kids, you need a big enough space for, right now we got a dancer, so got to have the big dance bag. We're going to have a sportster, so having the baseball gear, everything, we need the space. And something to get us down the road a little quick, too. We had like an escape in some different cars, but things didn't work out there, but it worked out in this. This was not on our radar until even last night. And seeing it was available, seeing it had all the things we were looking for, test driving it today, everything felt perfect, that we knew that this was the one. This, we believe, was the right thing, and it wasn't forced. It was so natural, and we believe it's going to set us up well. So enjoy the process, but be patient. The right thing will come along with a little bit of patience.
In a rocket ship. And that guy was returning to the stars, going back into space. It was an exciting interpretation, and it was one of the main things in Chariots of the Gods. And when other people looked at that lid and saw his explanation, they had to agree with him. Could Eric von Daniken be correct? Was Lord Pakal really an extraterrestrial who visited Earth in the distant past? One who perhaps shared highly advanced knowledge with mankind. Central America. In western Honduras lie the impressive ruins of the ancient Maya city of Copan. And though Copan's temples, pyramids, and monuments rank among the most important of any Mayan sites, researchers looking to explain the incredible achievements of the Maya have been drawn to a 72-step structure known as the hieroglyphic stairway.
The hieroglyphic stairway at Copan was constructed in the early 700s AD with the intent of writing out the history of Copan at that time. And so it was designed as a public monument to the glory and success of all the kings from Yaxcopal all the way to the 13th one who commissioned it to be built.
Carved into 1,200 stones in the massive monument, the ancient Maya symbols, known as glyphs, make up what historians believe is one of the oldest and most sophisticated systems of writing. But for centuries, the glyphs found throughout Mesoamerica were undecipherable. Then, in 1880, German librarian and anthropologist Ernst Forstmann cracked the code. Ernst Forstmann was a librarian at Dresden, and in his desk he kept one of the 4 Maya books, the Dresden Codex. He was a brilliant mathematician and extremely logical and had enormous insights. And at a time when we couldn't read a single Maya hieroglyph, he was able to figure out the Maya calligraphy.
Maya hieroglyphic writing is very robust, and that's because it uses really 2 components. There are logographs. Logographs are really pictures that represent entire words. So, balam, for example, which is jaguar, could be written with just the head of a jaguar. On the other, we have these things that we call phonetic complements. And these are glyphs, they're images that represent sounds.
According to interpretations of the hieroglyphic stairway, the glyphs chronicle not only the history, but also the origin of the ancient Maya rulers.
The hieroglyphs are really attached to what was important to royalty at the time, and that was lineage, the genealogies of the kings. They went out of their way to demonstrate how they were connected to their ancestors and the gods of their ancestors to establish their right to rule.
This is a picture I took of a close-up of a sculpture of Washak Lajun Uba Ka'uil, the 13th ruler of Copan, and he's depicted here on the front in all of his finery, and then the sculptor put a hieroglyphic passage on the side. We don't think commoners could read, but all the elites could, and the king could. So he or another elite individual individual could come here and impress people by saying this demonstrates the semi-divinity of our king and his power to intercede between us and the heavens.
But just what was the real source of power and authority behind the Maya priests and kings? Do the hieroglyphs reveal an otherworldly truth to their origin, as the Maya themselves maintain? Ancient astronaut theorists believe the answer is yes. What we have to think about today is, where did the origin of the priesthood come from? And the origin is nothing else but that they, the initial cabal of priests, they were all in contact with extraterrestrials, and that's why they were revered. Our ancestors thought they were gods because they didn't understand the nuts and bolts aspects behind those visits. But when it all comes down to it, it was all a huge misunderstanding and a way to keep the common people in place. Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula. For over 2,000 years, rain-drenched jungles and fertile plains served as the home of one of the ancient world's greatest civilizations, the Maya. Scholars estimate that between 250 and 900 AD, the Mayan population consisted of between 15 to 20 million people and extended as far south as Costa Rica and Guatemala. Archaeological evidence suggests the Maya were one of the first ancient people to develop a written language, use modern mathematical methods, and build massive, multi-story celestial observatories, all at a time when Europeans were struggling through the so-called Dark Ages.
The Maya are considered one of the great advanced civilizations with hyper-advanced astronomy, astrology, trigonometry, architecture, all of these things while the Europeans were, at the time, rolling around in the mud.
But perhaps the most amazing Mayan achievement was their system of charting the stars and planets in the form of a calendar.
Mayas were timekeepers above and beyond all other things. Keeping up with time was magic, it was power to the Mayans.
They were tracking in particular Venus, phases of the moon, eclipses, but they also tracked precession, which is an extraordinarily long cycle. What it means is that every year on, say, March 15th, the Pleiades rise for the first time in the sky. If you wait 72 years, the day of the rising of the Pleiades will be one day earlier. If you wait another 72 years, it'll be a day earlier still. And if you wait 26,000 years, the Pleiades will move back to that same day. According to scholars, the Maya believed that time, like the stars, moved in repeating patterns, called calendar cycles, and that these cycles could be used to predict future events. One of these calendar cycles, the Mayan long count, lasts for 5,125 years and will end on December 21st, 2012. But why? Why did the Maya choose this date? And what did they believe would happen to our world? Perhaps a clue can be found in an astronomical phenomenon located at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, an area where there are no stars.
The Mayans knew, not only did they know where the center of the galaxy was, but they understood that it was a light-year-across black hole that they called the Great Rift.
Maya believed this was the birth canal of the universe, and that all things came from the birth canal of the universe. And on December 21st, 2012, the Earth, the Sun, and this birth canal, the Dark Rift, are all in perfect alignment. And this only happens every 26,000 years.
Could the fact that the Maya long count calendar ends on the same day as this rare alignment in the Milky Way galaxy be a mere coincidence? And did this advanced understanding of celestial cycles really come from ancient Mayan astronomers observing the stars with only their naked eyes?
The Mayans believed that this knowledge came to them from their gods, and their gods then existed in the stars. So is it possible that these gods could have been extraterrestrials? The answer to that question is yes, it's possible.
According to the Maya themselves, this knowledge was not something that they came up with, but it was given to them as a gift from the gods. The gift back then was not material stuff, it was knowledge. Knowledge is the currency of the universe. Planet Earth, 65 million years ago. An 8-mile wide asteroid hurtles towards the planet at approximately 12 miles per second and strikes the region now known as the Yucatan Peninsula with a force of 100 million megatons of TNT. According to mainstream science, this catastrophic event forever changed the climate and the topography of Earth and ended the reign of the dinosaurs.
The object that came in was 8 or 10 miles in diameter. That impact dug a deep hole, wafted material into the atmosphere, black dust, which shrouded the planet in darkness for months, maybe for a couple of years.
So there would be a time in which sunlight was simply shut out from the Earth's surface, and photosynthetic organisms like plants would begin to die.
The plant-eating dinosaurs would have nothing to eat and would have died off. The meat-eating dinosaurs would then have nothing to eat either. And this might have lasted anywhere from 5 to 10 years. How quickly the extinction took place is a matter of debate.
But is it possible that some species of dinosaur actually survived this cataclysmic event? And not only survived, but thrived for several thousands or even millions of years? Perhaps clues can be recovered near a crater where scientists believe the giant asteroid struck the Earth, right in the heart of what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. Today, less than 90 miles from the epicenter of the asteroid impact, lies one of the largest and best preserved cities of the ancient Maya, Chichen Itza.
You have to wonder if it's not some strange coincidence that the same spot, the Yucatan, which experienced this devastating asteroid strike, which caused extinction of the dinosaurs, is also the main habitation area of the ancient Maya.
Chichen Itza is said to have been the place where the Mayans made contact with the gods. And I find it an extraordinary coincidence. Of all the potential places around the Gulf of Mexico which they could have chosen, they took a place where literally something fell from the sky 65 million years ago. And the Mayans believed that this contact with the gods, this contact with the sky, happened there up until the most recent of times. And so what we have here is either a coincidence or something else going on. And really this something else is only something which hardly anybody has touched upon. But I think it is something which really needs to be explored in far more detail.
In the Mayan area and other areas of Mexico, there are curious depictions of dinosaurs. There's pterosaurs, there's a famous dinosaur that appears on one of the paintings at Bonampak. So you have to wonder just how the Mayans knew about dinosaurs. Supposedly dinosaurs have been extinct for millions of years.
But if, as mainstream scientists believe,
The dinosaurs had been extinct for millions of years before the evolution of mankind on this planet. Then what would explain the wealth of Mayan art depicting interactions between humans and what appear to be dinosaurs, found in the very area where they supposedly died off? Mexico City, beneath the current-day capital of Mexico, lie the ruins of the ancient Aztec metropolis known as Tenochtitlan. The Aztecs dominated much of central Mexico from the 14th to the 16th century AD. And Tenochtitlan is considered to be their first official settlement. An incredibly sophisticated city featuring a grid system of canals and causeways. But according to their historical texts, the Aztec civilization did not originate here.
The Aztecs say they started from this place up in the north called Chiquimostoc. It was a cave, and inside that cave it had 7 different caverns. And there were said to be 7 different tribes, and the Aztecs say they were part of the 7 tribes that came from the 7 chambers of Chiquimostoc.
While Chiquimostoc was once thought to be a mythological place, some scholars believe archaeological evidence suggests that it really did exist and is located at the site of the ancient pyramid complex known today as Teotihuacan.
The place of 7 caves, we think maybe that has actually been located archaeologically at the site of the main temple of Teotihuacan, called the Pyramid of the Sun, which sits just north of the Valley of Mexico. Underneath it is actually a cave with 7 different spots that it extends out into. And that's where the Aztecs said their original ancestors came from.
In the 16th century, Spanish chronicler Geronimo de Mendieta recorded the legends of the local native population. According to their accounts, the Aztec believed that they were fashioned by a group of stranded gods within these 7 caves.
Mendieta wrote an account of Aztec legend. In this report, he describes a giant flint knife landing on the earth, and the earth was trembling and shaking as this enormous flint knife landed. Then some 1,600 gods disgorged from this thing, and they are responsible for launching Aztec civilization.
The Aztecs talk about the many gods coming down to earth and creating humans. They create them out of bone, ash, and their own blood. And they make them somewhat in their own image, but they make them specifically so that they will honor them and they will serve them.
All of a sudden, there is a description of a giant flint knife that descended from the sky, and somebody emerged out of it. One has to wonder whether or not our ancestors were witness to a landing of some type of a craft. If so, then the Aztec story suggests that at some point in our history, extraterrestrials created mankind. And something very strange was going on at Teotihuacan. Located just 30 miles northeast of Mexico City, the Teotihuacan complex encompasses nearly 8 square miles and is dated to the 1st century AD. It is the oldest and most sophisticated city of Mesoamerica, an area that extends from northern Mexico down through Central America. The civilization predated the Maya by at least 100 years. At its peak, it was said to have supported nearly 100,000 residents. It was also the largest city in the entire Western Hemisphere prior to the 15th century, and served as the major commerce and religious center for the region.
The significance of Teotihuacan cannot be overstated. It is the Rome of Mesoamerica. The things that Teotihuacan did set the pattern for all other city-states after it.
The central features of the complex are two large pyramids, known as the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon, as well as a temple dedicated to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. These structures stand alongside a thoroughfare referred to as the Avenue of the Dead. Over 200 smaller buildings, platforms, and pyramids are found adjacent to the avenue. And there are thousands of living quarters just outside the complex. But as incredible as Teotihuacan is, no one knows exactly who built this metropolis or what happened to its occupants.
Teotihuacan, despite its size, has no hieroglyphs whatsoever. There are other cultures in Mesoamerica that were using writing systems. There's nothing like that at Teotihuacan. So we don't really have a clear history of what happened at Teotihuacan. And we can't really find evidence of their rulers.
We don't know who were the original Teotihuacans. We don't know where they came from. We do not know how they were able to develop a complete, huge, complex citadel in the middle of nowhere and able to sustain thousands of inhabitants.
We have such a sophisticated site that embodies engineering principles, craftsmanship, art. Where did it originate? Where are the smaller versions of this? Well, we don't find any. So we don't have a progression, an evolution to show where this came from. So we have to ask, where did it come from? We become conditioned to look at these awesome works of stone architecture and think, oh, primitive people did that, and they used primitive methods, primitive technology. But we have to rethink the fundamental assumptions and come to a greater and greater level of understanding that the technology required to build these artifacts, in fact, is greater than anything that they possessed.
Teotihuacan, Mexico. In 2003, archaeologists in this ancient city made a startling discovery. A previously unknown tunnel lies 45 feet beneath the temple of the feathered serpent, one of the most sacred pyramids on the continent. Working underground, scientists methodically explored the debris-filled tunnel using a robotic probe with an infrared scanner. After some 250 feet, they reached a side cave.
The tail end of the tunnel, terminus of the tunnel, was loaded with yellowish metallic-looking orbs, apparently colored clay.
The orbs are very interesting objects. I've never seen anything like them in any kind of other archaeological context. On the inside, they are clay. On the outside, they're coated with some sort of gold flecks, so they look like golden balls.
What purpose these golden balls served is unknown, but some archaeologists believe the cavern in which they were found was a place of sacred ritual. Like the clay balls, the walls were also covered in gold flecks, so if the cavern was illuminated by a torch during a ceremony, it would have shimmered with 1,000 points of light, resembling the cosmos.
These beautiful orbs of yellow material strongly suggest that someone was illustrating planets. We do know that the Mayan calendar is heavily calibrated to the orbital parameters of the planets in our solar system, specifically the inner planets.
The red planet's connection to the Mayan calendar is portrayed in the Dresden Codex. This rare book from Mayan antiquity
describes the calendar in relation to Mars' movements across the sky.
The Dresden Codex is one of 4 remaining books that the Maya wrote. It is, in many regards, an astronomical almanac. There are many different sections of the book that talk about different astronomical phenomena. One of them is the planet Mars. There is an almanac near the end of the book that breaks up days into 10 groups of 78 days, equaling 780 days, which is the synodic period of Mars. In other words, the time in which it takes Mars to get back to the same place on the horizon from a human perspective.
Scholars believe Mars played an important role in the Maya astrology that's described in the Dresden Codex.
Above that almanac is a sky band shown with various aspects of celestial symbols we recognize out of hieroglyphs. And hanging off of it is this interesting dragon-like creature. That dragon-like creature is recognized as the face of Mars.
Giant megalithic stone heads, figurines of what appear to be flying craft, and statues that evoke cultures found on the other side of the world. According to ancient astronaut theorists, it is this information that the Catholic Church sought to suppress when they attempted to destroy all traces of the Maya culture nearly 500 years ago.
Now, what's interesting is all these great ancient cultures, including the Mayan, seem to have knowledge of math and science, which we can't explain how they got this information. When you ask them, they always tell you it came from the gods.
If the proof existed, not only of cross-Pacific migration, but also extraterrestrial visitation, many ancient astronaut theorists believe it would have posed a serious threat to a Catholic hierarchy steeped in the bigotry and intolerance of the Inquisition. But if this incredible theory is true, what then happened to the extraterrestrial visitors? Why did they come here, only to leave or go into hiding?
Because of various wars going on, cataclysms, eventually these civilizations began to collapse, as civilizations do. And what happened in the end was the airships, they stopped coming. And then the extraterrestrial demigods pulled their technology back. So we don't know what happened there with the extraterrestrials and where they went. And so you have to wonder if they don't want us to know that they are here. The extraterrestrials may have just decided, okay, humans on planet Earth have got the seeds of civilization. Let's just stand back and see what they do.
As far as ancient astronaut theorists are concerned, the proof of extraterrestrial visitation is still out there, much of it buried beneath centuries of dirt and rocks. But every day, the truth is being revealed. In February 2018 through March 2019, archaeologists made a number of incredible discoveries just in the area of Mexico alone. Maya artifacts were discovered in Teotihuacan, a location previously thought to have been inhabited only by the Aztecs. 200 more artifacts were found in a hidden cave under the Mayan site of Chichen Itza. And beneath dense jungles near Lake Juan, LiDAR scanning uncovered an ancient city the size of Manhattan.
In the early 1990s, there were these science fiction stories that one day we'll be able to somehow look underneath the overgrown jungle. And sure enough, here we are, 25 years later, and that technology now exists. Satellites are now able to look through the soil into the ground to see if other structures exist. And guess what? They do. We have
only now begun a new era of discovery, and I predict thousands as of yet undiscovered sites will finally see the light of day. If you have a puzzle with 1,000 pieces, in order to see the final picture, you don't need to lay down all 1,000 pieces. If you lay down 980 pieces, I guarantee you, you will see the big picture.
Is mankind on an incredible threshold of discovery, one that will confirm that extraterrestrial visitation has occurred all over the world and for centuries? Perhaps beneath the ruins of a newly discovered site in Mexico, archaeologists will uncover the ultimate evidence of alien contact and proof of humanity's true origins.
Teotihuacan, Mexico. Dating back to at least the 1st century AD, this ancient complex was once the largest city in Mesoamerica, with a population of 125,000. One of the most sacred temples at the site is the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, an enormous step pyramid dedicated to the god Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, goes all the way back to Olmec times, to the BCE period. But the first place that we really see Quetzalcoatl is in Teotihuacan, the city just north of modern Mexico City. They build a actual pyramid, a temple of Quetzalcoatl, right around 250 AD. So it's probably Teotihuacan who really put forward the idea and the identity of Quetzalcoatl as a deity for the rest of Mesoamerica.
Quetzalcoatl was a creator god. He was associated with the planet Venus. He brought the rain, he brought water, he brought civilization, he brought the arts. This was the creator divinity for the Aztec culture. It was a flying serpent, it was a dragon.
Quetzalcoatl bore peace, harmony, and high wisdom, and a very high level of intelligence and teaching to this particular land. He was often depicted as a human being as well. He arrived on the raft of serpents, settled on these lands.
Quetzalcoatl also shows up in the post-classic Maya city of Chichen Itza. But they give him a Maya name, they call him Kukulkan, which is basically the holy feathered serpent in Maya.
The ancient Mayan city of Chichen Itza lies roughly 900 miles east of Teotihuacan, and at its center stands another massive step pyramid. This one dedicated to the Mayan version of the flying serpent, Kukulkan.
In Chichen Itza, there we have the Pyramid of Kukulkan, and every year on the 23rd of March, you see when the sun is going up, some lights and shadows, like triangles, climbing down the stairway, exactly the stairway where his head is on. And on the 21st of September, you see the opposite, Kukulkan, disappears. And it's only made by light and shadow of the natural sun. So still today, the message is clear. But Kukulkan has descended to the humans. He teaches them for a certain period, and then he disappeared again. So right there we have living mythology in a structure that shows this deity descending from the sky in stone. You wonder if perhaps a craft landed here, and this light shadow effect of a serpent making its way descending down the staircase and then emerging through a serpent head is a recollection of that original event.
Is it possible that the Pyramid of Kukulkan was not built to honor a mythical dragon god, but to commemorate the arrival of an extraterrestrial spacecraft? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest this isn't the only dragon-themed structure that marks the location of alien contact. Evia, Greece. The landscape of this small Greek island He's spotted with 25 mysterious megalithic structures called dragon houses.
The main dragon house is at the very top of one of the tallest mountains on the island called Mount Ohi. Mount Ohi comes from the word ohivare, which means to descend and to drive. And so this is interesting because, according to legend, the reason why the dragon house exists at the top of Mount Ohi is because Zeus allegedly descended from the heavens on top of that mountain.
According to local legends, these stone structures were built by a giant dragon to venerate the god Zeus. In ancient Greece, the word dragon was not only used to describe a flying monster, but also gods and other figures that had human-like form but possessed superhuman powers.
Now, when you put all this together, this sounds like the dragon house is a meeting place of heaven and earth. In UFO vernacular, that would be a landing spot.
In my opinion, the dragon was the craft out of which then the creator people or the teachers emerged. Our ancestors, basically, they saw crew coming out of an airplane. According to ancient astronaut theorists, some of the structures themselves serve as evidence that this was a place of extraterrestrial contact. The Dragon House on top of Mount Ohi contains megalithic blocks weighing up to 10 tons and sits at an elevation of almost 5,000 feet.
Archaeologists have a hard time explaining why it was even built there, because we are talking of this gigantic megalithic structure with a ceiling that contains blocks that are up to 10 feet long, 2 feet thick, at an altitude of 5,000 feet. How was that done? In my opinion, this was an extraterrestrial visitation where Zeus may have descended in his craft and built a day camp.
Could the stone structures found in Greece and Mesoamerica mark the locations where otherworldly beings landed on Earth and ultimately returned to the stars?
Big news, I'm bringing back my bigger victims and lowering my prices too, so this old candy board's gotta go. Get even more value with my mozzarella sticks. It's so much more under $4. Welcome to Dr. Box.
Some stories attribute great powers to the moon. It does have some effect on us.
Since the time of the very first Apollo moon missions, researchers have pored over photos of the moon looking for structures. And they found some unusual things.
Only 300 kilometers away from where Apollo 11 ended up landing, this area has undeniable architecture that looks like what you would see from obelisks.
Somebody built something on the moon a long, long time ago, and I don't think it was Earthlings.
The entire object may be of artificial origin. My question is, who built the moon?
Since the dawn of civilization, mankind has credited its origins to gods and other visitors from the stars. What if it were true? Did extraterrestrial beings really help to shape our history? And if so, might the answer be found not on Earth, but on the moon?
Cape Canaveral, Florida, February 8th, 2016. NASA and Lockheed Martin project managers announced preparations are underway for the Exploration Mission 1, a manned-orion spacecraft journey to the moon. The Chinese, Russian, and Indian space agencies follow suit, unveiling their own manned lunar exploration plans. These missions would be the first time humans traveled beyond low Earth orbit since Apollo 17 in 1972. But what could be the reason for this renewed interest in the moon? And just why has it taken humanity so long to go back?
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
July 20th, 1969.
Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, I just checked.
Over 1 billion people worldwide are glued to their television sets as they watch the shadowy figure of astronaut Neil Armstrong slowly step off the ladder of the Apollo 11 lunar module onto the surface of the moon.
It's very fine. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The moment marks one of the most important events in the history of civilization. It's the first time a human being has set foot on alien terrain.
Apollo 11 is what people think of when you talk about Apollo today, and Neil Armstrong setting foot on the moon. The moon is roughly 220,000 miles away from the Earth. Even the best telescopes can't see what you can see when you're just standing on the surface.
Before we went to the moon, NASA was cautioned by doomsday predictors and different people. People wonder what it would be like on a place like that, so different from this place here.
The idea of landing people on the moon has been in the imagination long before the technology was anywhere near making it possible. After all, to be on the moon is to step into a mythological landscape. The place of stories, the place of wonder. Step into the heavens and stand on ground of a kind that is not Earth.
It was a huge moment for the human spirit. While it was Americans that put a man on the moon, it was considered a victory for all of humanity. Suddenly, science fiction became real, and it opened up a new age of exploration. I think that every journey starts with a first step. The moon was our first step into the universe, into our solar system. It is awesome to think that already 50 years ago, we became extraterrestrials on our planet. The moon has captivated the imagination of humanity since the dawn of civilization. It is a quarter the size of the Earth and is by far the most dominant celestial body in the night sky.
It takes about 30 days to go round the Earth. The moon glows. That's not because of any property within the moon. It's reflecting the rays of the sun which causes it to glow. The reason that the moon has phases is that the Earth blocks the light of the sun as the moon moves around the Earth, so it incrementally gets a little bit more of the sun's rays.
The moon's importance is very great. It leads tides, which help life transition from living in the ocean to living on land. It also stabilizes the Earth's tilt relative to its orbit. Without the moon, gravitational influences can cause the poles of planets to wander around kind of drunkenly, the drunken sailor. The Earth would have been a much more chaotic place for life, especially advanced life, to develop if it wasn't for the moon.
while the moon is largely responsible for allowing life to flourish on Earth, this celestial body itself is inhospitable. It has no breathable oxygen, and temperatures on the surface reach extremes from 253 degrees Fahrenheit when it's facing the sun to minus 243 degrees in the shade.
It was a very serious environment because there's no oxygen. So the astronauts, once they were on the moon, they had to be completely sealed.
It's surface gravity, which is what really counts if you're going to go there. It's about a sixth of that on Earth, which is why when you see those grainy images of the early astronauts, they're sort of bouncing around, and the moon has no atmosphere, whatever.
The astronauts, once they were on the moon, suddenly they were able to look at the world that they'd grown up on, the Earth, from a different place. They were able to see all of mankind in all its tininess in the universe. And that, I know, had a very profound effect on the astronauts.
Reaching the moon was such an unbelievable feat that even to this day, many people are convinced the entire event was actually staged in a Hollywood studio. But ancient astronaut theorists suggest not only did we land on the moon, but what we found there was more incredible than we know.
During the 1969 Apollo moon mission, after the landing, there was a very strange 2-minute gap in radio transmissions. And what happened during those 2 minutes has been subject to a lot of controversy.
You know what the Houston radio check over? Columbia, this is Houston, over. Oh, wait, I'll be...
According to scientist and NASA researcher Otto Bender, various ham radio operators were able to intercept secret communications with mission control that were not made public.
The astronauts apparently talked about seeing extraterrestrial objects on the moon, including flying saucers parked along the edge of a crater within their view.
Now, the truth of it is that each of the astronauts had a separate medical channel. That channel was not public, and it could have been very easily used to communicate information that you didn't want to be heard over the general public transmissions. What's really interesting about that story, though, is the fact that within 30 minutes of the landing on the moon, that story was circulating around NASA that, hey, guess what? They saw something on the rim of the crater, they were all upset, they didn't know what to do, they didn't know if they should go out.
It is interesting when you watch the feed of when they came back from the moon. They're not sitting there jumping up and down for joy and saying, I had the most incredible experience of my life. I was on the moon. They're not saying that. They look very sullen, very depressed. They're looking down. They almost look like they want to vomit. That's how disturbed they look. Could they have seen something there that they didn't want to tell the public because of the implications?
I believe that what this country set out to do was something that was going to be done sooner or later. We find for the first time that man has the flexibility or the option of either walking this planet or some other planet. It's the beginning of a new age.
After Apollo 11, NASA would send 6 more manned missions to the moon, culminating with Apollo 17 in 1972.
One of the most interesting questions with regard to our interaction with the moon is why we have never gone back there again since the Apollo missions. And what else is very telling is that although the USSR at the time was getting to be quite able to send its own astronauts to the moon, it never seems to have done so. Could it be that there were agencies associated with the moon, aliens or other beings who had warned humanity to stay away for some reason?
Is it possible
that the American astronauts were not alone on the moon. Is that why, after Apollo 17, we never went back? Some ancient astronaut theorists propose an even more incredible possibility that the moon came to orbit Earth not by chance, but by design. Humans have been mesmerized by the moon since the dawn of man. And although many theories have been proposed, scientists cannot say with absolute certainty how this celestial object came into being.
When I was a student, nobody really knew where the moon came from, and because it's so relatively big, this was a real problem. And I think that there is a tendency to think that moons get somehow captured by the parent planets. If you've got one body here and another body coming along, you can't just get trapped into orbit like that. The difficulty there is just basic physics. So this remained a puzzle until about 20 years ago, when another theory came along, and that is that the proto-Earth was very early on in the history of the solar system hit by a Mars-sized body, hit obliquely with this Mars-sized body, ploughed into the centre of the Earth and became the Earth's core, and a lot of the outer material got stripped off by this gargantuan collision and coalesced to form the moon.
Now, they had to come up with a very bizarre theory for how the moon came into being, because all the conventional theories don't make any sense. The best theory of the moon's formation is phantasmagorically catastrophic collision of two things, at just the right angle to form this belt of debris that then formed the moon. But the moon, its exact size is such that it gives us total eclipses. Its disk exactly covers the sun. And the chances of that occurring are so literally astronomically small. It's very disturbing.
The sun's diameter is 400 times greater than the moon, and coincidentally, the sun also happens to be nearly precisely 400 times further away. This is the reason that the sun and the moon appear the same size in the Earth's sky, and why we on Earth can experience eclipses of the sun. It's just perfectly in that orbit to eclipse our sun. The odds of the moon being in that orbit accidentally are a zillion to 1. So that right there is evidence that our moon is in a perfect orbit around our planet that's not accidental.
In order to have a solar eclipse, the moon has to be exactly the size that it is, which is 2,160 miles. Not 2,161, not 2,159, but 2,160 miles at its equator. And there are people out there that actually think that's a coincidence. The fact is that is by design.
Throughout our observable galaxy, this relationship and others have not been duplicated. Other moons are sizably smaller by comparison to their mother planet. Earth's satellite not only orbits closer than it should for its size, it is also the only moon in the solar system that has a near-perfect circular orbit. And no other lunar bodies are known to have such a stabilizing role as the moon has with the Earth.
Recent computer simulations have shown that without the moon's presence, the Earth's axis tilt would be completely different than it is today. We might not even have seasons as we know them presently. Without the seasons, it could be very difficult for life on Earth. So the moon is actually performing an incredible function. It's life-sustaining. Without it, we might not be here.
A new
month of GTA rewards have just dropped, and while there's kind of minimal.
If you watched my last video, Ghana Empire, Wagudu, then you know the mystery I left you with. Where did it come from? How did West Africa suddenly develop one of the world's most powerful medieval kingdoms? Well, I'm about to show you. What if I told you that while the pyramids of Egypt were being built, there was an entire advanced civilization thriving on the other side of Africa that literally no one talks about? And here's the crazy part. Their cities are still standing today. We're talking about massive stone structures, complex urban planning, a thriving trade empire, and a society so advanced they were feeding thousands in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Yet when you ask people about ancient Africa, what do they say? Egypt, Nubia, maybe Axum if they're educated. But Dar Tichit? You've probably never heard of it. This isn't a myth. It's real archaeology, real history, and it's been hiding in plain sight in Mauritania for thousands of years. We're talking about cities with sophisticated water systems, trade networks spanning continents, and one of West Africa's earliest complex societies. But here's the connection. The people who built these cities didn't disappear when Dar Tichit fell. They migrated south. They brought everything they knew. And they used it to create Wagudu, the Ghana Empire you just learned about. In this video, I'm taking you on a journey into one of Africa's greatest archaeological mysteries. We'll walk through stone streets, meet the people who built impossible cities in the desert, discover the trade that made them wealthy, and uncover the climate disaster that made them vanish. By the end of this, you'll understand why historians are calling Dar Tichit a game changer for how we think about African history. You'll see why this civilization deserves the same recognition as the pyramids, and you'll finally understand the answer to the question, where did the Ghana Empire really come from? If you love hidden history, forgotten empires, and stories that challenge everything you thought you knew, stick around. Dar Tichit is about to blow your mind. Let's go. Imagine standing at the end.
I just got paid $62,000 for my car accident using nothing but this app. Russell Westbrook turns 37 years old next week. And whilst most NBA players would be coaching or commentating or just flat out retired after 17 years in the NBA, Russ isn't like most NBA players. And even at 36 years old, there are still very few players that can do what he does. And one of those things is rebounding.
Humbly speaking, I'm the best rebounding guard ever.
Even at his age, Russ is still rebounding at a rate that almost no other guards can maintain, with him averaging 7 boards a game and 14 rebounds over his last 2 matches. And it's not just been the rebounding, because in year 17, Russ is proving the NBA wrong yet again. After spending the entire offseason without a team, after being told not to return to the Nuggets,
The truth is that they didn't want me back.
a lot of fans, a lot of front office members, and a lot of teams thought the NBA had moved past Russ. Well, 8 games into this season, and Russell Westbrook is still doing Russell Westbrook things, averaging 15 points, 7 rebounds, and over 5.5 assists, whilst shooting 43% from 3. Not bad for a guy who didn't have an NBA contract 3 weeks ago. But this is nothing new for Russell Westbrook. We've now seen it over the last several years, with the Clippers, with the Nuggets, and now with the Kings. When Russ joined these franchises, 95% of fans thought he was washed, thought he wouldn't help. Yet despite that, he contributed to every single one of those teams, and it's possible we might be seeing the best version of Russ we have seen in years. And the Golden State Warriors just got a perfect reminder of what Russ can do. Because in a game with no Steph Curry, no Jimmy Butler, no Draymond Green, no Zach LaVine, LaVine and no Domantas Sabonis, this was supposed to be time for the Golden State Warriors' young players to shine. And whilst some of those guys played well, the best player on the floor wasn't a player entering his prime, it was a guy who turns 37 years old next week, putting up a monster triple-double and an efficient triple-double, leading his team to the win. Just watch him here bumping into Ps5. He spins off him, and even at 36, that speed is still ridiculous as he gets to the rim and then has the ability to finish with the left. So how about on this play where he gives it up to DeMar and immediately cuts off the ball getting to the rim? These are just a couple of examples of Russ doing what Russ has always done so well. And in addition to this, he shot the lights out against the Warriors. And so far this season, he's just been shooting the lights out in general, shooting 43% from three. And look, we know Russ isn't going to shoot above 40% from three. We have 16 years of evidence. If I am wrong, you can come back and tell me I'm wrong. But all he needs to do is shoot well enough to keep the defense honest, because you can still see from those clips his ability to get to the rim. It is still absolutely elite. And I think one thing we saw in Denver that is helping him in Sacramento is that shot profile. He might not be able to dunk like he used to, and watching this play where Buddy Hield nearly blocked his shot kind of made me sad, but he still gets to the rim almost as quickly as anyone. And over his last couple of years, nearly 50% of his field goals have come within 10 feet, which is actually more than during his prime. Which I know sounds crazy, but that's a result of him taking less mid-range shots and taking more of the shots that we all want to see from Russ. And even with his efficiency at the rim not being what it used to be, with his ability to cut, his ability to hit a few spot-up threes, and what he does in transition, we've seen Russ can score with decent efficiency. And all you need from Russ as a scorer is decent efficiency. Because one part of his game that he has always had, and he will always have, is his playmaking. And when it comes to Russell Westbrook, everyone knows he averaged a triple-double numerous seasons. They know he led the league in assists. But I'm going to say right now, Russell Westbrook is criminally underrated as a passer. How is that possible for someone who led the league in assists multiple seasons? Well, that's because...
They go bad as fuck, y'all still talking this bullshit.